Hello and welcome to part 1 of Cupcake Addiction's 2-part roast turkey dinner cupcake tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make all of these delicious Thanksgiving or roast turkey cupcakes. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to make the peas and carrots on a plate and the delightful roast turkey cupcake. Tools and equipment that we will be using for this tutorial: I've got a rolling pin, I've got a paintbrush, I've got just a regular knife, a spoon, 2 cupcakes that I'll be frosting today. I've got some of our chocolate ganache. We've got a great recipe and tutorial for this on our channel if you would like to know how to make a good chocolate ganache. I've got a little bit of cornflour just in a shaker. You can also use icing sugar. It's just to dry out the surface when we roll out the caramel. I've got 2 pieces of caramel fudge. I've got 2 cookie cutters. The larger of my cookie cutters is a 3 1/4 inch or 8 centimetre. And the smaller is a 1 1/4 inch or 3.5 centimetre cutter. I've also got just an empty cupcake patty pan. I've got a little bit of melted white chocolate, and I've got some pre-made peas and carrots. Now the folks over at Jelly Belly have actually found that the call for real food as cake is so great that they've designed us this bag of edible peas and carrots. I got those from a specialty cake decorating store here in Australia. If you can't find them, you can use some modelling chocolate, fondant, or something as simple as some orange and green taffy, and just roll them into little carrot shapes and little balls for your peas. Let's get started. Firstly, I'm going to make the little plate that our peas and carrots are sitting on, which is where this patty pan comes in. Now, I've got my smaller cookie cutter. Now, I mentioned that was a 1 1/4 inch, but just have a look at the patty pans that you're using and pick one that's about that ratio. So we don't want to have the middle of the plate because we want those peas and carrots to sink down. We just want to have the ring around the outside. So I'm going to take that melted white chocolate, leaving that cookie cutter in there. I'm just going to dollop that in around the sides. You know what, you can take the cookie cutter out. Dollop it all in is probably easier. Spread it around. I like to give it a good couple of taps just to smooth it off, and then I'm going to pop that cookie cutter back in the centre, effectively cutting out a circle in the middle, and we're going to pop that off to the side or into the fridge to set. Now while that one's setting, I'm going to prepare the 2 cupcakes. I'm using the chocolate ganache. I just like it as a base. You can obviously use our buttercream as well if you like. I like the colour of the ganache against the white of the plate as well. It really makes the plate a feature. So I'm just going to frost those cupcakes up. This one's going to be the roast turkey. So I'm just, basically you've seen me blob it on top of the cupcake there, and now I'm just smoothing it out with the back of my knife, back and forward, just to give my cupcake a lovely nice dome shape. Try not to go over the edges of that patty pan because you want to keep it nice and neat if you can. Alright, there's our lovely dome iced cupcake. Now, I'm going to take the 2 pieces of caramel. Now for me, I found 2 pieces was perfect for my turkey. You might need more or less, depending on the brand and the size of caramel that you're using. So I'm just going to take those, I'm going to smush them together. I will mention too, this is caramel fudge, so this is not your harder caramel chews. If you've got caramel chews, you can pop them in the microwave for a little while just to soften them, but definitely try and get caramel fudge because it's quite a bit easier to roll and to manipulate. You don't have to put so much effort into it. So you can see there, I'm just kneading that fudge between my hands, and this is just bringing it together and getting rid of the cracky sort of consistency, softening it up for the roll. Alright, that's my fudge, my 2 pieces of fudge sandwiched together. Now I'm going to take the cornflour shaker or your icing sugar, a little sprinkle. I'm just going to flatten that fudge down, give it a little smudge through the cornflour there, and I'm just going to roll it. Now the fudge is quite a bit stickier than the fondant or the modelling chocolate, so just make sure that you are pulling it off your rolling pin regularly or you'll find it ingrained in there. And you can sprinkle a little bit of that cornflour on the top of it if you need to. So I'm going to roll that out. to a piece that's big enough for my cookie cutter. Now with that cookie cutter, I did mention it was 3 1/4 inch. Once again, I've just picked one slightly bigger than the size of the top of my cupcake. So just try and get a cookie cutter that's about that ratio to the cupcake pan or cupcake patty pans that you're going to be using. Cut out a nice little circle of delicious fudge. And we're going to lay that over top. Now the fudge will be quite stretchy. So just, you can see it's not quite to the edges, so I'm just going to push it down with my fingers, just working the fudge down, not the frosting underneath, just the actual fudge. I can feel it stretching there underneath my fingers. If you push the frosting, you'll find the frosting actually starts kind of spewing out the sides, and we don't want that because it's trying to stay nice and neat. Meet it right up with the edge of the patty pan. Beautiful. Alright, now with the palm of my hand, I'm just going to round that off. Now if you do get any little ganache spots or anything like that, don't worry. We can use a wing or a leg to cover that up. Alright, so there is the basis for our turkey. Taking these offcuts, I'm just going to roll them into another ball. And I'm going to separate the ball. Take about 1/3 of the ball off. Rip that 1/3 in half, and that will be our 2 wings. The rest of the ball, also rip that in half, and that will be our 2 legs. Now for the wings, roll them into a little ball, and I just almost made a little drumstick and then twisted them over. Making a second little wing and stick it onto the other side. Now the stickiness of that fudge will actually hold your caramel together, so you don't need to use any water or any glue or anything. Now for the drumsticks, into a bowl, and just, see, I'm just using my finger there to roll them out into a lovely drumstick shape. If you want, you can dip those drumsticks into a little bit of white chocolate on the end. Not necessary, but definitely if you would like to. And then I'm going to just pop my drumsticks onto my turkey like so. Alright, already looking delicious. So just pat them around till you're happy with the shape and the general location. Now I'm going to use the back of my paintbrush, and I'm just going to make that little indent just to give us a bit of a turkey breast and make him look a little bit more realistic. So that is your Thanksgiving turkey ready to go. Now let's get cracking on these peas and carrots. Okay, so now that it's set, to release your little plate from the patty pan, firstly you'll probably need to apply a bit of pressure, but just twist that circle cookie cutter inside and pull it out. Hopefully, there it goes, hopefully your little bit of white chocolate will come out with it. If it doesn't, and it is still attached to the rest of your plate, you should be able to see the little circle cut in the bottom, so just push it up, push it out. If perchance your plate might crack or anything like that, just use a bit of your melted white chocolate just to glue it back together. Now I'm just going to use my fingers just to smooth down those edges. You can see it's given us a lovely rough shape around the edge, like a bit of a plate. A bit more of that chocolate ganache. I'm just going to frost this cupcake with a chocolate ganache. I'm going to do one of our flat top frosting styles so that the plate is the star of this cupcake. If you're loving our tutorials, make sure that you have subscribed to our channel, both so that you can catch part 2 of this great roast turkey feast, but also so that you can catch all of the other great tutorials that we come out with every week. And if you're passing by, feel free to leave us a comment. We love to hear your feedback and your opinions. Alright, so I've got my flat top frosting style of cupcake done. It's going to be as simple as just pushing that plate in and then positioning our peas and carrots. So I found it easiest to position the carrots first, and I just like to line them all up. So you can see, because we don't have a base in that plate, you can just line up all of your little peas and carrots and they stick into that frosting. Now with the peas, I like to build my peas up a little bit. So if you find that you want to go up over the edges a little bit of that plate, just dip your pea in a tiny little bit of ganache and use the ganache to stick it to the little pile of peas. So I think that you'll agree, as far as real food being turned into cake, these are a great example of what you can do with cakes and cupcakes. And I think everybody's going to have to give them a second look to work out that they are not, in fact, a turkey and a plate full of vegetables. Stay tuned for the second part of our roast turkey feast tutorial. I hope you have a great time making these, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.